All right, welcome everybody. It is somewhere between Monday, November 21st and November the 22nd, depending on where you are in the world. And this is Jim and Jory. We're in Haiku, Hawaii, which is on the north shore of Hawaii, where winter has definitely arrived. Winter means lots more rain, mild temperatures still, but lots of rain and very high surf on the North Shore. We can't see the ocean from our house, but we'll get warnings about how big the surf is and recommending no swimming today. Yeah.
Yeah, we intentionally moved 500 feet up from the water level. That was my requirement when we moved here, so I could feel safe when these things happen and we could be safe
So we're
when
okay
this
as long as we don't
happened.
as that will do. And if you don't want to go to a small group, then you can do what some folks have done, which is put an equal sign in front of your name. That's just a signal that means that you prefer not to go into a small group.
Mhm.
And then after the small group exercise, we'll get back together here and debrief anything else that anybody would like to say about where we are so far. Then we'll launch into some activities around um, gratitude, both giving it and receiving it, and have lots of opportunities for practice if things go according to plan, which you never know.
Mhm. And we usually start with a self connection exercise, and that self connection is actually going to be led by a song that's extremely meaningful to me, and I'd love to sing it to you. Ready?
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you for my life. Thank you for my life. Each precious day is a gift to me, and I can hardly believe the beauty I see. Thank you for my suffering and the wholeness that it brings. Thank you for the trees in spring as they're budding and flowering. Thank you for my frustration, my succumbing to temptation, for my growth and the lack thereof that let me know I'm made of love. Thank you for my life. Thank you for my life. Each precious day is a gift to me, and I can hardly believe the beauty I see. Thank you for my range of feelings, for the unexpected healings, for the process of growth, for love and hate, 'cause I need them both. Thank you for the lessons unending, for the power of surrendering, for boredom and waiting to be free. Thank you for creating this for me. Thank you for creating this with me.
Hmm.
A little higher than I meant to sing, but that was fun. And and so now we'll have an opportunity to go into some breakout groups. You want to say more about that?
I want you to talk a little bit so I can get people into breakout groups. I want you to say why you sung the song and what it means to you, if you're willing.
I certainly am. It actually is a song that goes deep into my roots over decades, and it actually brings tears to my eyes. It has such a significance of being able to be in this world and find the balance of positivity so that I could see the beauty of what I did have, even at times when it's difficult, which are inevitable. And so it's become a theme for me. And we're going to invite you into a session this time that can focus on that you can find that strength for yourself as we go forward. in this world that sometimes gives us what we want and sometimes doesn't, sometimes meets our needs and sometimes doesn't. So, anything else you want to add to that?
I'm almost ready. So I can't think of anything else right now.
No, yeah.
So I'm going to make the groups for to last about 10 minutes. So it should give you 3 or 4 minutes apiece to talk with one another. And then we will come back here and talk with all of us. If you're not in a group right away, I'll get you in one as soon as I can. And so
I think we have one person you did not assign.
I'll get. I'll do
Okay.
it. Here we go.
Okay. Yeah, that one.
Yeah. I was trying to decide where to put them.
Thank you, Jim and Jory, for
Welcome.
everything you guys, every Monday I make sure that I'm here. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And welcome everybody back. Everybody's
It's nice to see
welcome.
you here, Ron. Haven't seen you in a long time. It's great to see you. Hi, Jody. Hi, Sangeeta. Sangeeta, sorry. And yeah, lots of everyone wants to come and celebrate this topic of gratitude. But would anybody like to share anything about what's up for you after being in small groups with folks? Anything that you'd like to share here with the large group? Love to hear a few voices. How the song affected you. Yeah, go ahead.
Rena?
No,
I saw Rena's hand. Sorry.
Sangeeta.
Sangeeta first. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Sangeeta.
Yeah, thank you so much, Yuri. That song felt like it just came at the right time for me. Something just happened physically yesterday to me. As some of you all know, I live alone, and I don't know whether it is some internal stress that I've been hovering inside me. And I got into a locked lower back problem all throughout the night, and I barely got myself out of bed to show up today. I'm so glad that I showed up and I heard that beautiful song in your lovely voice. It was so empowering. And just before coming and logging into the session, Sudha Shankar sends me this small little write-up about accepting and gratefulness. And when I go into the breakout room, I have Shiva giving me another lovely nugget and a lovely advice on just accepting. So I'm just loving the synchronicity. It's just bringing this hopeful smile on my face that the universe has my back.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to worry about this physical back when I have the whole of the huge universe that has my back and will take care of me. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm so glad you found this space. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
And Rena?
Yeah. Thank you for the song, Jory, and the words. I'm going to read them again and again and listen to the recording. What it brought up is the close relationship between mourning and gratitude. You know, and what I shared in the breakout room is at 30, I was married at 20, and at 30, I married my first love. And at 30, the signs of rejection came up. And I mourned for many years for the separation and divorce. But now, after 55 or so, I'm truly seeing the clarity that he had serving me, because I moved on and I made a life for myself. But the mourning took long, and I pray that I have long life for gratitude as well. Because now I can say without that intensity in that word ruthless, that he was ruthless with me when he said, I do not want you.
Mhm.
And now that ruthless is, yeah, it's a shorter way of saying what it was, but there's no intensity in that. There is that sense that that clarity helped me to find my way out of the closed door and closed heart.
Yeah.
And this song brought up that when thank you for the suffering, thank you for the frustration.
Mhm. Yeah.
And these tears are tears of gratitude.
Mhm.
How many of us get stuck behind these closed hearts and closed doors? And I hope to bring more people out of that through my sharing. Thank you, Jory. Singing the song
Yeah.
touched everyone, I guess, and me.
Yeah, this being human, this guest house. Yes. Thank you for sharing that, Rena. And John?
Hello.
Hi.
So I wanted to share that what came up for me was delight, just delight at having this extra little window, this sliver of extra knowledge of who you are, and the experience of just being a little bit closer, and those levels and delightful. That's wanted to share. Thank you.
Yay. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Some of you might have missed the song, so I'll just put the words up on the screen. Oops, wrong screen. For just a second, then we'll get to gratitude.
Maybe you can copy them into the chat.
They're kind of long, but
Yeah, okay.
but that is a good idea.
Where are they?
I'm working on it. I'm usually doing this class right-handed today. We changed
want-
places. No, I don't want to do anything.
Okay.
I just want empathy.
Oh, didn't know.
That's not
sympathy.
empathy. But thank you. Huh? For some reason,
Can't do it, huh?
can you guys see?
Oh, there it
Do you
is.
see the words now? You guys see the words?
Yes.
Okay,
Oh,
good.
thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just be quiet for a minute while you look at them.
No? It's okay.
So this brings up for me the concept not only of gratitude but of savoring, and we'll talk more about savoring as we go. But some of you have been with us for the whole year, and you might remember that at the very beginning of the year, rather than have a New Year's resolution, we played with the idea of having a word of the year. And I chose the word savoring for the year. And so some savoring's coming up. Savoring means for me, means to extend the pleasure of something. And there's a lot to savor in this particular song for me. First, my sweetheart sang it for you today. And secondly, you'll see that it was written by a woman named Beth Towner Corwin. And she was a close personal friend of ours when she wrote this song. And we were all living together in a spiritual community in the middle of Kentucky, believe it or not. And the community was called Cornucopia. And cornucopia is something that is associated with Thanksgiving. It's that you've probably seen this basket that looks like it's a bit of a horn shape, and it's just filled with abundant produce to point to the abundance that we all have access to. No matter what our situation in life, we at least have air to breathe, and gravity's working. I remember once being in the hospital not with me. I wasn't in the hospital sick, but my mom was sick, and things were not going well. I couldn't think of anything to be grateful for. It was an awful, awful, awful period of time. And then suddenly I remembered that a part of my spiritual practice in nonviolent communication was this notion of gratitude. So I thought, is there anything that I can feel grateful for? So I just stopped. I just was sitting there, and I just went inside and I said, is there anything that I can feel grateful for? So I invite you to do that right now. Just see if you can come up with anything that you can feel grateful for. And as you connect to that gratitude, just savor that there's something to feel grateful for. In my case, all I could think of in that moment was at least the doctors and the nurses and the other people in the hospital were communicating with me. They were letting me know what the situation was about. And they were doing it with a quality of warmth and compassion. And I just started savoring that at least people are telling me what's going on.
Yeah, I've had that experience of finding it so hard to think of anything I'm grateful for, and I have my pocket gratitude. I'm breathing, there's air. It's my pocket gratitude.
Or gravity is another one.
Gravity's working, yeah.
Yeah. And then as I left the hospital right after that to go maybe get some lunch, but something had started to shift in my consciousness. As I found one thing to feel grateful for, other things started coming up, and there were really random kind of ideas that were popping up. So I noticed that everybody was driving on the side of the road that I was expecting them to drive on, and so there was this sense of flow of traffic. And then when the light would change, some people would stop, the ones that were supposed to stop, and others would keep going. And so that's another example of just, things are kind of, people are being protective and are protecting each other. Then I got to the restaurant and I ordered some food and they had it. And so I was grateful to be able to eat something that wasn't hospital food. And then I noticed that I had money, that I could pay for this food. And on and on and on. So it just created a cascade of gratitude. And so we'll play with that today and invite you to experience that as well. But before we go on, I just want to see if anybody has anything you'd like to say at this point.
Yeah, I do actually. I felt a little bit of discomfort reading one of the lines in the song about love and hate. Yeah, because I guess I have told myself that hate is not something to be felt, experienced, or taken in, and that it's just, creating more of a duality in me and what's around me. And so I'm really curious about that and wondering if anyone has anything to share to help me see that differently.
Yeah, I'd like to acknowledge how that word, many of us were raised with, you're not supposed to hate, that's not okay, and all of that. And at the same time, it's a feeling that arises in us. It's like any other feeling. It happens. And what I see it as is a signal rather than to move into the right wrong. It is a signal. Something deeply is not working. So like any other feeling, to be able to use it to connect to what the underlying need is and to then move forward in trying to make life more functional, if not wonderful in that moment, because hate is a very strong emotion, but it is part of our human nature. It is a signal. How is that for you to hear?
Yeah, I'm noticing a lot of emotion coming up and like tears welling in my eyes. I'm associating that with a sense of truth. Yeah, so it sounds true very deeply.
Yeah, I really appreciate you bringing it forth because you're not alone in that programming.
Yeah, I had a, I bet everybody here has had some sort of, for good reason, we've all been educated to think there's something wrong with hate. I remember I was about, I think it was third grade, and I got beat up at school or something like that. I was always managing to get into a tangle when I was younger and in the neighborhood. And as I was, I came home and I was very upset about my new scratches and bruises and so forth. And I was processing this with my mom. I didn't know that I was processing it. I was complaining about what happened for me. And I said something like, I hate him. And I really felt that, hatred is a very raw, primitive emotion that's linked to the urge to violence, And my mom said, you're not allowed to hate. And so this was very confusing for me as a 9-year-old or an 8-year-old or whatever I was, because how could it be that I'm not allowed to feel what I'm feeling? And so I did what every good, obedient little boy does, is I suppressed that hatred. And I then, I probably then said something like, well, I forgive him then, or whatever was I was supposed to do in our family, which was you weren't allowed to hate, but you were allowed to forgive. And so since then, because of my training in nonviolent communication, I now understand what the cause of the hate was. And we're actually going to focus on it next week, not necessarily just hate, but all the angry feelings is our topic for next week. How to be with our own anger and how to be with other people's anger. And the ability to be with anger happened for me when I learned what the cause of anger was. That at one level, the cause of my anger is not what the other person does. That's just a stimulus. But what I tell myself about the other person and what they deserve, that's where the real suffering of hate and anger is. And then if I go even deeper, I get to the point where I see that my suffering, at the root of my suffering and pain, is a need. And just as Jory was pointing to, once we get connected to the need, then maybe we can do something constructive in the service of contributing to those needs. Anything else up for you, Tanya, or does this feel complete for now? Okay.
Thank you for speaking up.
Siva.
I want to say something about hate. That's, I think, in addition to what has already been said, I think hate is actually, if you feel like you hate, it's a sign of fear. It's very, very closely related. And so you can examine what it is you're fearful of and do some analysis without trying to be too emotional about it. That's one thing. And the other aspect is that we can never do anything perfectly until we know how, and until we risk going beyond whatever it is. So maybe hate is the extreme, and then hopefully we realize that doesn't serve us to hate. It doesn't serve us personally, but at least we've explored what it feels like, and then we can choose. We always have to be aware that we are, as human beings, able to make choices.
Thank
That's
you.
enough for now.
Thanks,
I
Siva.
am feeling hate is a feeling and connected to every feeling is a need. So it's a signal. It's just another feeling. It's a signal. It's a strong signal. So obviously the needs underneath are just screaming for attention. And Janet?
Yeah, this topic of hate, it's interesting to me because I had a time last year when I was experiencing some very extreme hate, and it scared me, and I just felt so bad that I had this hate. And I started to read, there's people out there that actually study emotion, and they put them into categories, and apparently hate is considered a complex emotion. And some believe it's actually composed of three things: betrayal, fear, and anger. And for me, in my situation, that was exactly right. And when I could look at it like that, the whole thing just dissolved. Like I could deal with the betrayal, I could deal with the fear, I could deal with the anger, but when they all got combined and mixed up together and it was hate, it was like, I just couldn't deal with it. It was like overwhelming. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. Thank you for letting me speak.
Yeah,
You're welcome. Thanks,
Thank you for
Janet.
speaking up, Janet.
And Kay?
Hi. When I hear the word hate, I guess what comes up for me, well, with this conversation is it feels to me like the flip side of love. As mourning is the flip side of celebration. So I hate, for example, I hate injustice. I love fairness.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what came up for me.
Yes. Thank you very much, because I think they are twins. They are, you can't have one without the other, in a way, at least the feeling of love and the feeling of hate. They seem to be very, and that's why I like the way that Beth kind of put them in the song in the same place, and pointing to the word need. It was way before anybody knew anything about NVC. NVC hadn't even really been invented yet. As far as I know, and yet there the word is, I need these feelings. I need all the feelings that arise in me in order to get more connected to life. Aaron?
Yes, this conversation about hate is stimulating some thoughts about hate groups, and kind of raising a question to me where someone might experience hate because they want to belong to a group, not because they necessarily would independently hate whatever that group hates.
Yeah.
But maybe they have a kinship with a family member, or someone they care about in the group, and they're like, well, so and so is in this group that hates such and such, I better hate such and such also.
Yeah.
The need for
So
belonging
I'm
is
just
huge. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so they're hating in order to meet a need for belonging, but it really has nothing, not really directly associated with whatever the target of that, or so
Yeah.
it's just another level of complexity that occurred to me. So
Yeah, I love your empathy guess. Basically, you're making an empathy guess for people who get involved in hate groups or hate
yeah,
crime.
well, that's what Jory said. So I'm just, I don't want to take the credit.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate you underlining it.
Yeah.
And Roya,
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
anything else, Aaron?
Were you complete?
I guess so.
Okay.
Yeah, I was complete. Thanks.
Good.
Okay, good.
Roya?
Yes, I was sharing in the group also about this Colorado Springs that this guy Anderson Lee went and killed about a lot of people and injured a lot of people in the gay club, in the lesbian and gay club in America. I'm wondering what was the need that he needed to do that, and how can we stop things like that? And it's hatred to some religions, hatred to some race, hatred to some people, kind of people. It's just has to do something, but to teach them from childhood not to, or
Yeah.
everything happens you out of the society and in your small group of your small group of people who think like you, how much you let them freely say something bad about another group.
Yeah.
That was my 2 cents.
I appreciate the exploration. It seems to me that people who hate are so lonely and so disconnected from life, and who knows what their history is, the lack of love and care that they had in their lives,
The trauma that they might have
the
suffered.
trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a sad social issue that we still deal with. And I hope that our work here and your continued work inside of you and everyone that you speak to starts to shift the culture in a way that makes space for even the people that hate to be able to receive them in a way and model something different. Thank you.
Thanks, Roya. John, then we'll go to practice.
Kind of said what I was thinking. I was just imagining when someone does something like that, what happens next? And they, they're taken to prison, and there's one group of people who are, a majority probably, who are very angry at them and reinforcing their enemy images. And they're, they would, I imagine them doubling down on whatever stories that they're telling themselves about the other people, because they're receiving all this anger and hate towards themselves for what they did. And then maybe a few other people who are like, yes, I'm secretly on your side, I believe the same thing, very small minority, but nobody on the other side that he's attacking or has attacked or harmed, saying, like, I really want to understand you. I really want to get to that place of what your trauma is and have that curiosity. And I think that's how we start to transform people, by when they harm us the most, if those people can, who they harm can not reinforce that negative enemy image thing that they have, but actually do something that just opens up their heart.
Yeah.
Not easy to do.
Not easy to do. But the takeaway from your sharing is that empathy begins with curiosity and wonder. That if we know what's going on in the person who did the harm, then we can begin to empathize with them. But of course, that curiosity and empathy is not possible, as far as I can tell, until I've received enough empathy for the harm that I've gotten. So, like when my little childhood incident, I wish my mom would have at first just acknowledged my feeling. So I'd say something like, can you be my mom with giraffe ears?
Sure.
So I hate that kid. He's always beating me up.
Yeah, that's not fun.
No, it wasn't fun at all. It's just, it hurts. It hurts. And I think he should be punished.
Yeah, you would really like to find a way for this not to happen, huh?
I would. I want to make sure he doesn't hurt anybody else.
Yeah, you don't want to get hurt, and you don't want anybody to get hurt.
Yeah. Even though this happened, more than 60 years ago, I could still feel that Jory's empathy guesses started settling my nervous system, just to acknowledge what my experience is. And so that's the takeaway for me of what you said, John, is can we first get the empathy that we need and then show up with that same quality of wonder and curiosity about the person who does the harm. It's the steep path. It's a steep path.
Yeah, and what I did is just to walk with him. It's that simple, just to walk with him where he is and his nervous system settled. It's just there. We're not giving empathy or doing empathy. We're accompanying.
We're being empathy.
Being empathy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, we're just being with however another person is. And, people often say, I don't know what to say if I give somebody empathy. And all you really need to do is acknowledge what you hear. You don't have to have a big needs vocabulary. You don't have to worry about doing it right. Just acknowledge, acknowledge, acknowledge.
And I'd like to be really clear that empathy is not what you say. Empathy is where you're coming from, holding another human being with care. Empathy sometimes is even silent. And we speak up because it's helpful to give the other person a sense that you do hear them, you are with them. And I see
Odile?
Odile?
Yeah, thank you. What's coming up for me as I'm hearing Jim and Jory, demonstrate this is, in my experience, I have found, just as I go through this empathy, and yes, you're feeling this and that, whenever I receive a negation, no, that's not it. I'm not angry. I'm not hating this person. How do we continue that empathy? I mean, I would love for you and Jory to just speak a few more sentences.
Sure. When I'm in empathy, whatever they say is just another opportunity for me to connect more deeply with them. It's not, it's not about me when they say, no, that's it. That's not it. It's like, oh, I get more interested in listening. What is going on inside that person? So it's getting past the right, wrong, should, have to, whatever that we do. It's just accompaniment. How does that land for you, Odile?
Yeah, I think it is guiding me to get more and more into my own self-empathy and my own zero step before I can show up further. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Thank you for saying that. That's so important. That's at the core.
Yeah, and so if you do make an empathy guess and it ends up not landing, that's okay. So what's the worst thing can happen? And say, no, it's not that. And you say, oh, so it's something else. Yeah. Or you make another guess. So is it that this instead of that? And so you just stay present with wherever you are.
And I'd be careful about a lot of guessing too at that point. It's not a guessing game. It's an accompaniment game.
Yeah. Okay, so let's practice. Get into the gratitude stream here. Lower this hand. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen, see if it works right this time. There we go. Okay, so gratitude is, we defined it when we did the Pathways to Liberation Matrix of Self-Assessment. We defined gratitude using the least number of words possible as finding the value in, appreciating, and enjoying what is. So notice where the power is. It's in me. It's not in what happens outside. It's in me to find the value of it. So even if something didn't go well, like Rena talked about, losing a relationship, to eventually, through the process of mourning, to find the value in it, to appreciate it, and then to continue to enjoy what is from now on. And so the cool thing about gratitude, and the reason I think it became part of an important part of nonviolent communication, is that it's a pipeline to shared power. It's a way that we can support ourselves and the people that we're working with in our role as activists or in relationship or as parents or whatever. It's a way that we can restore and resource ourselves.
Mhm. Yeah, for me, the key to that is an open heart and making sure that we are connecting to the positivity also of what is inside of us.
And I wrote it here that it's a direct path to NVC consciousness. And what I mean by that is you don't have to like go through 15 years of practice. Simply tasting gratitude in this exercise, or even before we get to the exercise, that takes you directly to the experience of NVC consciousness or giraffe consciousness or whatever you want to call it. And then it also is a way of helping us to see shift in other people. So if we're listening to someone who's in pain, or who is going through some suffering, and we might just be with them in whatever, either silently or with some acknowledgement about their feelings and needs, we know that something has shifted when they start talking about their gratitude. So beginning to attune ourselves to the presence of gratitude in other people is also helpful for our practice. So let's practice cultivating gratitude right now. Write down something specific someone did that made your life wonderful. Of course, this is the practice of making an observation. So write down something specific someone did that made your life more wonderful.
They said or did.
And so specifically, it can be something at any scale. So we've got some people doing some work on our driveway, and the man who's working on it called me out for me to look at the work that he had done, and he showed me how what he did was not good enough. It actually was below his own standards. So he basically pointed out what wasn't working about his project. So that would be specifically what I would write down. Now I'll be quiet while you do that.
No sound.
Anybody? I see a few people still writing, so I'll be quiet for another minute. Yeah, so I see that Roya has put her answer into the chat. If you would like to do that, you can. It's of course completely optional. You know, this is a private experience. If you want to keep it private, that's fine. But if you want to share your observation.
Oh, you want me to say it?
Yeah, what Roya wrote was my son said I could visit. And so that's an observation. Heard your son say this.
Yeah,
Yes, because
go ahead.
Thanksgiving is coming, and I have not seen him for any Thanksgivings in my life.
Wow.
So I said, can I see you after Thanksgiving? And he said yes. So
nice.
that really made my day, made my life.
Made your life more wonderful.
Absolutely. And maybe some other people put theirs in the chat too, or share them, just a few of us. It's an opportunity for me and other people to celebrate something that someone did that made your life more wonderful. Just touching into that gratitude. And let's see, my son likes pickleball and wants to get together.
To play, I assume.
Yeah, I assume too. My
Yeah.
mom picked me up from the airport. Yeah.
See how simple this is, that we can, we don't need a lot of words to describe this. And yeah, it's, for me, it really contributes to connection. The less words that I hear or read. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's not only the few words, but just to be able to connect to even simple things that happen and savor them.
When my friend offered me a living space when I needed it most. Yesterday, the University of Victoria, where my partner is a master's student, assigned somebody to help me create my dream job in the community as a way of helping to keep my partner in the community. My help shows up each day for work at the decided time. Nice.
Yeah, beautiful. Just reading your gratitudes, I can feel that in my own body. I wonder if that's true for other people, just to be able to hear someone else's gratitude as we read them.
Yeah, it's a nice.
Yeah, my husband made me a cup of coffee. I mean, just that simple. How sweet is that? Yeah, my husband shared his deep appreciation by weeping in response to hearing me sharing my music with him. Oh, so sweet. Okay. My 31-year-old daughter asked me if I felt safe for her to go to a town nearby to get a tattoo. And just notice in yourself to hear someone else's gratitude. How beautiful. Thank you.
So next step is to connect what happened to the need that action or gift contributed to.
So what's the need that was contributed to by that action?
In my case, with the contractor, it really contributed to a sense of partnership and trust and mourning. He was really mourning that he got a bad batch of concrete. It was really, my guess was he was really wanting to take responsibility for it. And it really contributed to a sense of cooperation, collaboration. So
yeah, trust.
So think about it for a moment and see if you can come up with a need or some needs that were contributed to by this action. I see, I felt heard, seen, and understood. So understanding, support, ease, connection, care, community, peace of mind, survival, consideration, ease, celebrating connection, generosity. If you don't have a need yet, maybe it can be helpful to look at a chart. So I'll be quiet for another minute or two while you look at this list.
It's just a list of some words that point to needs. Maybe you came up with a different one.
Well-being, I see support and care, peace of mind, support, wellness, and health. Yeah. So next step. Here comes the resilience piece of this, and it has to do with feelings. First, notice how you're feeling as you connect to the need. So go to the body first and notice sensations and emotions as you connect to the need. And then if some words come up that you could describe that feeling, you could write them down. It could be either sensations or emotions. Like Nushin wrote, expansion, ease. I'm not sure if she's talking about needs or feelings there. Some words point to both. In my case, there was a sense of when I actually just pointed this, I was actually, the feeling I had was awe, A-W-E. It was like, wow, I don't think I've ever had this happen in my life. I was surprised, and such a feeling of warmth and appreciation came up for me when I heard this news from the contractor.
So notice in your own body now, what do you feelings? I see awe.
Grateful. Bliss. I'll have what you're having, Estella. Appreciation and love.
Yeah.
Ease and flow. And don't content yourself with just writing the feeling down, but then go back and savor the feeling in your body. Again, savoring means to extend the pleasure of something. When our needs have been satisfied, the result in our body is pleasure. And so let yourself feel that pleasure. And it can be just a micro moment.
Yeah, savor.
Or it might just have that sense of now letting something delicious linger on your tongue for a while. This is a powerful practice for creating that resilience. It also helps to support presence. It gives energy to you to slow down and savor the feeling.
Yeah, it supports resilience too. Oh, you said that, didn't you? Yeah.
Bears repeating. Then take responsibility for this happening in your life. Sometimes it's a bit of a stretch. Like if you are appreciating a beautiful sunset, like what did you do to create that beautiful sunset? Well, you noticed it. You slowed down enough to actually look to the west and take a moment to take in the sunset. So you didn't build the sunset in any kind of way, but you did create the context for yourself to enjoy it. So see if you can find out what you did to help make the action possible.
Yeah, sometimes it's just you showed up. It could be that simple. Often it's something that you contributed, something you did. Not always.
I'm not sure exactly what I did to make this possible in my case, other than, I chose, Jory and I chose a particular contractor to help us with this project, and he subbed it out to this guy. So there was a level of trust that since we trust one man, that we naturally trust whoever he hires to come. So I think that's part of it. And the other thing that really, the instant thing that made it happen was he called to me and I responded to his request to go down and see what he wanted to tell me about.
And I love what Leanne wrote. I gave birth to my grandchild's mother. And hear from Kay. I opened my heart to receiving his loving response. Nice. Yeah, just being sometimes.
So anyone like to share in the large group what this first experience of sharing gratitude is like for you? If you have any questions or any comments about it, we'd love to hear them. You can raise your hand. If you don't know how to raise your hand, and at the bottom of your screen, there's a little smiley face with a plus sign next to it. It says reactions. Click on that, it opens up a little menu, and part of the menu items are raise hand. Go ahead, Monica.
Well, one of the things I noticed now, as Jory was saying, how both of you were saying to savor the feeling, and then Jory, you were saying that you were feeling certain feelings just from reading about what people were grateful for. And I'm just becoming, through this practice, I'm becoming more aware that I really feel my nervous system registers everything, every little thing that everybody says, and especially their intention and where they come from. And I'm very grateful for that. And I think it's been this practice and its emphasis on being connected to what I'm feeling. It's just like, I'm thinking of myself, like those pictures of water of Masaru Emoto, and how that experiment where water takes different shapes, and I'm becoming aware of something that I've had a hard time owning, my feelings for a long time. And in part is because I am highly sensitive. So I kind of went to the other extreme, of just hiding in my mind, in my head, not to feel. So I'm very grateful for that. And it's very new to me also, just acknowledging that domain so directly. And specifically as we're being guided to do, for me, it's new, and I'm very, very grateful for that. And this staying with the feeling and just savoring the feeling was new for me.
Yeah.
And I really, really, it worked. It worked on me. It's like, okay, now right? Go there and stay in that space. You know, it's a real place to be, and don't be so like I would usually do it. Oh yeah, I'm feeling this. I can write it down, and then I'm just disregarding it like it's not really real, right? So thank you for guiding us. And
You're very
I'm
welcome.
really enjoying.
Thank you for bringing this forth, because I think you're not alone in dissing feelings or just kind of pushing them aside. You know, we're most of us have not been raised in a culture where there's been an emphasis in that level of self-connection. So thank you for bringing it forth.
Yeah, and showing the power of savoring. And I was thinking about, you know, how in the last 10, 20 years, mindfulness practices and so forth have really come alive, and that this is a way to practice mindfulness or heartfulness off of the cushion. So here we are, we're just reading words on a chat during a Zoom call, and yet we can start awakening and savoring some delicious feelings. Like as you're saying you're grateful, Monica, I'm savoring the feeling of gratitude I have for you sharing. And so it creates this very benevolent feedback loop where where gratitude begets gratitude. So thank you for sharing that. Anything else up for you, or does that feel complete?
That's complete.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
And Juliana.
So just wanted to say, that was the thing I felt immediately. Deep gratitude to you, Jim, and to Jory for these calls that you both give from your heart so freely to all of us. Yeah, and you organize so much to help us on our journey of growth. And Jim, I just want to ask one question. In the process, you first asked us to connect with our needs, and then you went to the feelings and sensations, you know, not that OFNR kind of thing, you know. So I just wanted to understand. And for me, that felt, in this particular case, more organic, you know, more natural.
Yeah.
And it may not in other cases. I also noticed that, yeah.
That's why.
Just your comment.
That's exactly why we do it that way. It's just much more organic because we're already feeling it. You know, I mean, we're already, by connecting to the need first, it opens the gateway to the feeling. Often with pain, we go the other direction because the pain is so apparent that then we need to walk ourselves back to the source of the pain, which would be the need. In this case, and this is the way I learned it from Marshall. And I had the same thought of you. Hey, why is he changing the order of things here? And then I got to see, oh, nonviolent communication is not a linear process. It can actually, you can start anywhere. You could start with a request and get to where you want to go. If connection is your aim, you could start with the observation, you can start with the need, you can start with the feeling, you can start anywhere, and use all four of those components to build a process of connection.
Yeah, Marshall was very clear. It wasn't about the steps. You didn't see them as steps, but rather elements. And you use whichever elements in that moment communicate what you want to communicate.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. One more question, Jim.
Sure.
Have you finished saying what you wanted?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yes, I'm
So one more thing. Yeah. So sometimes I find the feeling of love very overwhelming, and how to come back to balance. I just wanted to know that. Can you just please share some thoughts on that?
Sounds like you got more than one feeling going on at the same time. You have a feeling of love,
gratitude, love, everything. Yeah,
okay.
Gratitude leading to love, and I find it so overwhelming
and
that I don't know. Like, you know, I'm asking your thoughts how to bring it, come back to balance. Like, you know,
I would want to know why we come back to balance when things are so delicious.
Can't go on forever in that seventh heaven, as it were. I need to be more realistic and come down to earth.
Oh, there'll be time for that later. Enjoy it while you can. Just let yourself be overwhelmed by bliss. Just let yourself feel whatever you feel, whether it's bliss or it's rage or whatever it is. What I'm noticing is the more capacity I build to feel what I feel, the more quickly the kaleidoscope changes. When you have a kaleidoscope, it's constantly changing. And if I try to hold the kaleidoscope in one particular place, then it moves anyway, because it's so dynamic. So I just learn to just kind of be with it and let it gradually do whatever it does. So, and especially if it's a wonderful feeling, I don't want to hurry through that.
Yeah, just ride the wave.
Yes.
Yeah, it comes into shore, it settles down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you really want a method for getting rid of gratitude or the overwhelm of bliss, then just think about an enemy image, and you'll come down immediately.
There's something you're disappointed about.
Okay, okay, yeah, that's true, but yeah,
You feel
but not that's true, but not very wholesome.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Juliana. So no other questions I see on the board. So now let's take it one other step, one other layer. The mind has the capacity to travel in time and space, right? You can imagine yourself being in Maui. Oh, that was a really easy one for me. I'm imagining you being in Maui, coming to visit us or something like that. That would be really nice. I can imagine that. And I can imagine visiting you wherever you are. I can imagine things that might happen in the future, and I can remember things that have happened in the past. So Marshall talked about a particular kind of gratitude. He called it a golden oldie.
Mm-hmm.
And so a golden oldie would be an observation. So we go right through back the same steps again of the process. So you start with thinking of a gift that you received sometime in the past, maybe even when you were a teenager or a young adult or a child or some other place, some other time in your life. But think of something specific that someone did then that still makes your life more wonderful now.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have one in mind, or you want me to dig one up again?
Oh, I was reading something else. You dig it up.
Okay, so maybe I'll tell more of the story, but my father retrieved, I was about 5 years old, and my father retrieved my precious yellow blanket for me from the middle of an island in the lake in the middle of the night.
I want to read that chat.
And then again, connect it to the need. What need did that person's action contribute to for you? In my case, it was around support. Now, as a 5-year-old, of course, I didn't have this vocabulary, but now in my adult self, I can imagine it was around support and safety. It was my security blanket, security.
Jim, could you put up the needs diagram?
Yes, I will. Thank you for reminding me.
Thank you, Leslie, for that. I'm going to check that out in the chat.
Okay, here comes the needs chart. Now you can start savoring already. You can start savoring even at the level of observation. But you can certainly start to savor the need. You don't have to wait for the feeling. Marshall described needs as in many different ways, but one way that he described them was as beloved divine energy. So each of these words is pointing to a different part of the spectrum of beloved divine energy. In each frequency of the spectrum, you can savor. You can savor what it feels like, the sensations and emotions that come up connecting to the need for survival. You can connect to the feelings that come up just starting with the need for cooperation. And then that is a gentle nudge towards then more to have a more embodied experience of feeling the feelings that are connected to the needs. So just as needs can be, feelings can be gateways to needs, needs can be gateways to feelings. So you can savor all the way through this process. Next step would be to actually notice your body, the feelings that are coming alive in you. And then if you'd like to write down those feelings and then savor them. And then again, take responsibility. What did you do that helped make it possible? Now I'm only 5 years old, but since I have an adult brain, I can travel in time and imagine what I, as a 5-year-old boy, did to make that action possible. I made a request. I was crying in pain, and I was really missing the security blanket. I had been injured in a snake bite incident, and I was in a very unfamiliar place, scared to death, and I didn't have that security blanket. And my dad went back to the middle of the lake 2 hours away to retrieve that blanket for me. And it started because I asked. What did you do? So we're gonna open up small groups again for you to talk about this, and even better than talking about it would be to play it out. To actually, like if Jory and I were gonna be in a small group together, I would say, Jory, would you be willing to be my dad? My dad's been left the planet 10 years ago, but
Yeah, I'll play your dad.
yeah. So I don't even know if you remember this or I ever even told you this, but that time when I was about 5 and we'd gone camping and I got bit by the snake. You remember that?
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll never forget it.
Yeah. And there are a lot of things I was grateful for that you did for me that night.
Huh.
But one thing that I probably never told you is that after you finally were reunited with us in the hospital, I was crying and crying and crying for my yellow blankie.
Mhm.
And you heard my request. And even though you had finally just found us after hours of looking for us, you got back in the car, got back in the boat, drove out to the middle of the lake, went back to the island, found that blanket, and then repeated the journey to come back to bring me that blanket.
Mm.
And when I remember you doing that, I'm filled with you see what's going to happen now. Just an overwhelming amount of gratitude, because it really contributed to love and to safety and to care. And so I wonder how you feel hearing that from me, Dad.
Well, I didn't even know you would remember that. It's really sweet to hear that from you.
So something like that. So you guys get to practice that in your own small groups for about 15 minutes. See how many people can get a chance to play. Some of the groups are now 2, some are 3, and you change the time frame. So you'll have about 15 minutes to do this and practice.
That means 5 minutes each if you're in a group of 3, or you'll have a little more if you're in a.
If you feel finished, just do some more. Just keep practicing. It'll be great practice for Thanksgiving if you're going to celebrate Thanksgiving or whatever holidays might be coming up over as we move into the end time of the year. So we'll see you guys back here in 15 minutes.
Bye-bye. Vitality and capacity.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm grateful for you for that. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'd love to hear some voices here of what this was like for you, especially if you tried the time travel expression of gratitude, or anything else about the gratitude process that you'd like to share about. Please let us know what it was like for you.
You can put it in the chat or raise your hand and let us hear your voice either way.
Very healing, Tanya says. Yes. Sangeeta?
I'm just so grateful for this opportunity, as I was discussing with my partner, that you today, in this now, through this time travel, made me actually want to dive in and acknowledge some things which I had so negated. And I kept feeling like, oh, my parents never loved me, because they never displayed their love through those hugs and kisses. They never gave me anything special. And then today, as I was discussing, the words just poured out, and I was like, oh my God, there were so many tiny things which I have not even acknowledged that they did for me. And we're always looking at these, what they didn't give you. So really thankful and grateful to you, both of you, for allowing me this process, for making me go through this process. It was very touching. We both partners had, by the end of the breakout room, we were in tears. For this moment of realization that came up. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your personal experience and how this landed for you.
Very,
Thank
very meaningful
you.
to hear.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
And you're kind of underlying the power of sharing gratitude and sharing this process. So part of my dream is that that we by we I mean the NVC community, that we will create a culture of gratitude. And can you imagine, what if every business meeting started with some time set aside for the owner of the business or the president or the CEO or the department manager, whoever was running the meeting, to go around the table and share one thing that each member of the team did during the last period of time that contributed to the manager or to the company, however they want to do it. And then imagine what it would be like to have this as the bedtime ritual with our kids. So we share with our children, what's one thing our child or our grandchild did today that made our life more wonderful, that contributed to us. And I know what'll happen. I know that the kid will start sharing more gratitude with the parents, because it's very catchy. It's very contagious, this gratitude thing, just like other emotional experiences, both life affirming and life alienating, can be catchy or contagious. Gratitude's very powerful in that way.
Yeah, and I'd love to hear from some of you, your gratitudes, just to hear them out loud if you're willing.
Especially if we haven't heard your voice yet today. There's a few
Yeah.
people that we haven't heard from yet that we'd love to hear from.
Thank you.
Thanks,
for-
Sangeeta.
Sangeeta.
Anybody else want to share anything?
Yeah, for your direct experience of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fifi?
Yeah.
Well, I was expressing gratitude to a high school teacher of mine, and which was really wonderful. But what was fascinating is as I was getting in touch with my feelings, and she really instilled a great deal of confidence in me, and I think really kind of showed me maybe what I could do in the world. But as I was feeling it, I felt I sat up straight. I felt my spine lengthen. I felt my chest open. It was such a physical, it was so physical. You know, those in the needs for acknowledgement and for self-acceptance and confidence and competence and just being known and being seen. But really, it was so funny how I just sat up and did this. So that was a great physical experience as well as emotional experience.
Very cool. Very cool.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for sharing your direct experience. That's so, it's so connecting. Thank you. Anybody else? We get to celebrate with you.
Mourning is also welcome too, by the way.
Yes.
If something about this didn't work out for you, we want to make space for that too. Mourning and gratitude are very close cousins, because they're both reflective of the underlying needs. Go ahead, Isabel. Something told me that you were going to speak up. Go ahead, Isabel.
I'd love to hear.
Yeah, I was just noticing nobody was reacting, and so I decided to raise my hand. I just wrote down a few things here, and it's something that happened back in 1987. I was graduating, and my parents bought me a Nikon camera. I remember that. And I'm realizing that gratitude is not only an opportunity to relive and savor, and to build resilience, all the things that you have mentioned, but to also grow. Because back then, in my early 20s, things that I didn't have an insight for, now I have. And so back then I didn't realize what an investment mom and dad were making, because they had so many children. And that was their way of letting me know that they were there for me, that I counted, that there may be a lot of siblings, but that I mattered. So not only was it a financial investment, but it was clear that after they got me the camera, my siblings would be envious, and they were willing to hold the fort for me. So that also counted. And
Layers and
since
layers.
they,
Yes.
yeah, and since they have both passed away, I'm thinking gratitude transcends time and death, because by my reliving it, now I get expanded and I can send them a loving prayer. So that goes forward. And now I'm able to, as a result of this gratitude, walk more confidently in my life with more security than ever that they have loved me. So it spills into the present.
Yes, absolutely. They're the gifts that keep on giving, these golden oldies.
Yeah.
And then the cool thing also, the flip side of it is you're likely to be somebody's golden oldie. So if we had more time, we would invite you. So maybe you could do this as a homework exercise. What's a gift that you think you gave to somebody that they're still benefiting from?
Yeah, made their life more wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jeff.
I make a living out of that. You may know.
Yeah. To appreciate
you.
ourselves and the gifts we give too. Yes.
Yeah, take time to savor your own gifts, because every single one of you probably gives 10,000 gifts a day.
Yeah.
You know?
And to savor the needs you're meeting within yourself as well as in somebody else when you give. And now there's Jeff, and
Jeff
we'll
and
go
then
to
Jeanette.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to be a part of the class and to share my experience. I didn't time travel very far. I time traveled only like 30 minutes before the class because I just had great gratitude, and I wrote it in the chat, but somebody just was silent on the phone while I wept, and spoke out all the things that were clogging the filter of my life, and said all the things that I was upset about, and they listened, and so I had a lot of gratitude. But what I wanted to highlight was, or restate what you just said, Jim, about gratitude and mourning or grief being cousins, close cousins, because in that experience, I looked up at the sky and saw 10 billion stars, and had great gratitude. And then at the same time, the connection was that I was at a certain place, and that place is meaningful to me, but I can't be there. It's like at the house that I used to live in. And so it's like having the gratitude, but then the mourning at the same time. And I shared that in my group, that it's confusing when it's gratitude, but it's got pain associated with it. So thanks for bringing that up. I'd love to hear more if you have more on that.
I couldn't have said it better than you, Jeff. You just said everything that needs to be said about it. I think is that they really go together like a hand and a glove, like yin and yang, like salt and pepper. Yeah. They all come.
Thank you.
They all come from the same place. This beloved divine energy, as Marshall called it. And we'll finish up with Jeanette, then we'll do our end of the class links.
Well, I really appreciate both of you for keeping these classes and learning going. And your song, so much joy about suffering and having gratitude. And I call that for a divine journey, which many times I thought the suffering was unbearable, but now I look back and I'm very grateful for it. And the last thing is, I have a dad who's 97 years old and had a breakdown and a meltdown at 92. And today at 97, he's extremely healthy, totally sharp, and he picks me up. It's the 14th year he's picked me up at Denver Airport, waiting after I arrive on a plane, and he drives at night to come and get me twice a year. And I'm just blown away because it used to be violence. And now he just goes out of his way to pick me up no matter what at 97. I don't know, one day it won't be there, but this whole thing about suffering and gratitude, how it can change. So thank you so much for continuing to do these classes, and it's very touching for, I'm sure, me, and I'm sure everyone else.
Thank you, Jeanette.
And me too.
And me too, yes.
Yeah, it's a gift to us as well.
And give your dad a hug from me.
Yeah, I just got inspired. I'm going for, I thought I was just going for 95. I'm now going for 98 or 100.
Okay, so let's see here. In the chat is Jory's link. You want to say a sentence about that or two?
Yeah, I love to connect with people and to support you in any way that I can. Your presence is a gift, and if there is a gift for you that you would like to receive in terms of connection and support, please feel free to take that link and to set up time that could work for both of us. By using that link, you can see my calendar and what's available there, and choose a time that works for you.
And then if you're here for the first time, and or if you want to give this next link to anybody that you think might benefit from these classes, feel free to share that. That's how you get on our mailing list.
And then we get a reminder, and the topic of the week that's coming up, and sometimes even other activities that are coming up.
Yeah, this week it'll come early because we're doing a class on Saturday at NVC Academy that you're also welcome to join us. These links are for the recordings, for the calls. I think we've got 100 of them up there now, something like that. And so plenty to utilize in whatever way it works for you. We do these classes in the spirit of compassionate giving and receiving, and we know that need might be alive in you as well. If you want to give us some of your resources, you can use PayPal to do that, and we use the money we receive for this class to support our mission of sharing nonviolent communication around the world, and especially to support people in the global majority that don't have easy access to NVC training. So we have projects that we send some money to periodically. And you can also donate directly to the organization that Marshall Rosenberg started, the Center for Nonviolent Communication. So I'll put that link in here. If you do that, let us know so that we can savor your gift. CNVC is an organization that now has, about 600 certified trainers around the world doing all kinds of interesting projects in various places. And with that, we're at the bottom of the hour. So let's say one big thank you to everybody for being here today. Appreciate seeing you. And we'll have a little after party. Anybody wants to stay, we'll put you in small groups to hang out and practice some more if you want, or just hang out. So aloha, everybody.
Aloha. Thank you for being you.
Thank you.
Carrie.
Thank you, Jim.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.